rises and falls in its popularity for brain research, and after a period on the wane, it is again receiving considerable attention. Apparently, the body's sensory information is channeled at the reticular formation and dispensed to the various portions of the brain according to the particular kind of information and the area of the brain concentrating on it. The on-off switch for general consciousness, sleep and wake and such seems to be related to this area. There is a particular area on a newborn kitten's belly that the mother cat seems to concentrate on in her incessant licking of the kitten after birth. If this area is blocked off, preventing the mother from giving it stimulus, the kitten proves extremely and permanently dysfunctional. Apparently, the reticular formation fails to become fully functional if this area is missed, and the kitten then cannot process its sensory information. And the critical nature of this activation seems to be stage specific. It must be accomplished soon after birth if it is to be done at all. While in utero, the human infant structures certain forms of knowledge about his or her womb world, including the general sense and smell of the mother, a knowledge of her voice, perhaps her taste, and she or he is given one at least pattern of recognition built into his or her new brain system, otherwise rather a blank slate, the ability to recognize a face. These forms of mother recognition will help furnish his or her bondings after birth. That is, they will help to furnish points of similarity between old matrix and new, points around which she or he can assimilate the new unknown information and make an accommodation to it, if the rest of the bondings are furnished. In the new matrix, the appropriate or known voice, smell, perhaps taste, and general sensings of a primary nature must be furnished for a constant activation for those primed senses. The newborn's total sensory system must be brought into play through physical stimulus, because only by stimulation of the body does the reticular formation receive the necessary stimulus to bring it into full play and begin to function fully as the coordinate of body senses and mind-brain activity. So the infant goes into an extreme stress state shortly after birth. This stimulates ACTH, which then brings about the new proteins and brain cell connections that prepare the infant for massive and swift new learnings. The adrenal steroids prepare the body for dramatic, indeed drastic, physical changes, alerting the body and brain for the fast work to be done. And the high stress state prepares the infant body to be highly receptive to, indeed desperate for, the particular nurturing stimuli that will reduce it. And what is that particular stimulus? It is the equivalent of the animal mother's licking. The human mother is genetically programmed to nurture the newborn's body by a continual gentle massage and stimulation, and this is what has been found in non-technological countries. Zaslow and Breger, in their brilliant study of infantile autism, point out the four great needs for bonding: holding with a body molding of the infant. Just one second. Yeah. To oneself, prolonged and steady eye contact, smiling and soothing sounds. Breastfeeding, of course, furnishes all these at once, and body stimulus is what must be added to that vital body molding contact. The Ugandan mother continually massages the infant, and in carrying the infant in a sling at her breast, as she resumes her daily routines, the infant is undergoing continual body stimulus. The activation of the body's sensory systems and the reticular formation is, therefore, quite rapid and complete. With a fully functional sensory system and a fully functional reticular formation to coordinate the mind-brain-body information processing and muscular responses, Intelligence growth has clear sailing, for in furnishing these critical bonding needs, the mother has automatically furnished all the rest. The infant finds ample points of similarity between his or her old and new matrices. Assimilation of new information is then possible, and the brain has a fully functioning reticular mechanism for accommodation. No stage-specific portions of the biological plan are missed from a lack of preparedness, and development, swift and wonderful, unfolds according to that plan. All adrenal steroid production has completely disappeared in a short time because the infant, in being returned to and recognizing the unknown, the known, relaxes. He then remains in an alert yet calm state of learning. I will return to this bonded child later, for she or he still has more to teach us. For now, however, I need to return to the hospital delivered infant. My five and yours, I dare say. The infant has been prepared for the greatest single act of learning or growth of intelligence ever to take place. What does the infant learn? What happens to this highly absorbent mind? First, as Suzanne Arms has detailed so well, the entire procedure of delivery gets seriously delayed and complicated out of all bounds in hospital delivery. Drugs, particularly anesthetics, specifically slow up the synchronous movements by which the infant is expelled from the womb, and delivery gets extended to torturous lengths. Fear and anxiety build in the mother, and pain follows swift and sure. The pain calls for more medication, as does the anxiety. And what of the infant? His or her body has begun a massive outpouring of adrenal steroids preparatory to the great push and adaptation. But the movement does not come. His or her body continues its outpouring of hormones. Stress piles on stress. The expected natural cycle of stress relaxation is not forthcoming. After hours of this, both mother and infant are exhausted. Then there are all the medical interferences, the carelessness, and the callousness. Coupled with the conditioned reflex of fear are the operating amphitheater atmosphere, that deadly table, and being forced to lie down or even be strapped down, which completely eliminates any last hope of muscular coordination. This is followed by drugs that incapacitate both mother and infant. The average anesthetic passes through the placenta to the infant in 45 seconds, long before deliverance. Mother and infant have been kept at a climactic point of tension, able to achieve no resolution. What happens? Because the natural expulsion process is by now thoroughly fouled up, instrumentation is used to assist the mother in expelling the baby. In addition to the now commonplace practice of episiotomy, severely cutting the mother in a manner that would be considered major surgery at any other time and often causing permanent damage. Forceps and suction machines are usually used to claw or suck the infant out of the mother's body by grabbing that fantastically fragile, all too sensitive, and utterly precious head. The vast majority of the time, such instrumentation is not necessary, and only in a rare emergency could an episiotomy be justified, even with all the complications caused by the medicine man's bags of tricks. The simple truth is that he likes to use his tricks. He likes the drama and importance of his image, wielding all his mechanical toys, showing the incompetence of nature and establishing his own superiority.
Okay, if anyone has any questions or anything to discuss, please just unmute yourself and ask and talk, okay?
The semi-drugged, overstressed, and exhausted infant is, of course, generally unable to get his or her breath, even if given ample time to do so. The many new unused coordinates of muscles are confused and malfunctioning. His or her body is reacting only. All synchronous interactions have long since been destroyed. In addition to his or her prolonged body fear of oxygen deprivation, when she or he is finally sucked or clawed out of the mother, his or her entry is into a noisy, brilliantly lit arena of masked creatures and humming machines. The hum of fluorescent lighting alone is an overload, much less fluorescence itself, which, as the world's greatest authority on lighting, John Ott, makes perfectly clear, is disastrous to infants. Suction devices are rammed into the mouth and nose, the eyelids peeled back to that blinding, painful light, and far more painful chemicals dropped into the open eyes. She or he is held by the heels and beaten on the back or subjected to a mechanical respirator. At this critical oxygen short period, the umbilical cord has been cut. She or he is cleaned up a bit from the blood of the episiotomy, which will knock his or her mother out of the picture for quite some time. Placed on cold, hard scales to be weighed like any other piece of meat in a factory. Wrapped up, of all things, to protect him or her from those demon drafts, bundled off to a nursery crib, screaming in pain and terror if she or he is lucky, or rushed semi-conscious and half-dead to an incubator. Far worse fate than a crib if she or he is lucky. This makes it sound horrendous, really.
It is horrendous. It's not sounding horrendous. It is horrendous.
Yeah. All of us are going through it all the time. This rush is necessary because attention is focused on the cut, bleeding, injured, drugged, and depressed mother. Her comfort is the issue. Her postpartum blues will be discussed in some psychological journal, which will ask whether there really is such a syndrome. She herself, somewhere in her days, feels that it was also wrong. Something magnificent, earth-shaking, universal, godly, numinous, near mystical was supposed to happen and did not. She wants a baby. All she gets are sharp commands and reprimands. Nature has done everything possible to make the newborn's venture into the unknown a success and a great learning by guaranteeing a, a return to the unknown. What the infant actually learns at birth is what the process of learning is like. She or he has moved from a soft, warm, dark, quiet, and totally nourishing place into a harsh sensory overload. She or he is physically abused, violated in a wide variety of ways, subjected to specific physical pain and insult, all of which could still be overcome. But she or he is then isolated from his or her mother. It is impossible to overstate the monstrousness of this final violation of a new life. No book can ever express the full ramifications of this crime against nature. This isolation neatly cancels every possible chance for bonding, for relaxation of the birth stress, for the activation of the sensory system, for its extraterrene function, and for the completion of the reticular formation for full mental physical coordinates and learning. The failure to return to the known matrix sets into process a chain reaction from which that organism never fully recovers. All future learning is affected. The infant body goes into shock. The absorbent mind shuts down. There will be little absorption again because there is only trauma and pain to be absorbed. The infant then surely exhibits only two states, fulfilling Spitz's expectations. Quiescence, which means semi to full unconsciousness and unpleasure. If awakened from his or her survival retreat from consciousness, she or he is propelled back into a state of unresolved high stress. She or he cries him or herself to sleep again. The air of general excitement noted by Bridges surely reverts to distress. Pleasure and smiling will surely be much later in appearing, just about 2.5 months later, because it will take that long for this unstimulated and isolated body to compensate if it is to survive at all. The infant's body must manage slowly to bring its own sensory system to life, get that reticular formation functioning, and come fully alive through whatever occasional physical nurturing it gets. Stage-specific processes, once dismissed, must be laboriously rebuilt. Niketbhaiya, this last para, a part
Yeah.
of it is cut off, so I may not
Yeah, okay.
know the exact word. I'll just read, you say which word.
Yeah.
During this period of shock, sensory closure, and retrenchment, there is virtually no development. How could there be? All the other pre-programmed stage-specific developments are systematically missed, throwing the system farther behind.
Perfect.
Okay.
Niket, I would like to say one thing.
Yeah.
That here also now all gynecologists, they are asking the mother for the skin to skin. They are being given the option that when the baby is born,
Yeah.
for cutting the cord, the skin to skin is being asked for, and the father is being given the option to cut the cord.
Over here?
Things are changing. Yes, over here, the gynos are asking. A lot of mothers are going in for that option. So
Great.
things are changing here also.
Yeah. You said that in Singapore they are doing that.
Yeah, even here they've started.
They started. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Consider now the male child, whose hold on life is automatically more precarious than the female child's. In nearly all cases, the doctors circumcise the male infant on the second or third day of life. They cut off the foreskin of his penis, nearly always without anesthetic. After all, the infant, suffering excessive stress in a state of shock, and all too often with a crippled reticular formation, seems to be a vegetable. So why not treat him as one? Does it hurt? Of course it does. How could it help but hurt? And this is just one more of those massively negative learnings etching into that new brain-body system. I can only dare parents, if they are going to allow this criminal act, to demand they be allowed to watch the performance. Just go watch, remembering that the infant registers pain just as you do. If the infant is not already in a complete state of shock before the operation, he certainly will be afterward, as parents would be if they were to observe and comprehend what is happening. Remember that the practice is a recent addition to our centuries' atrocities committed on children. Bear in mind the growing incidence of sexual inadequacies and dysfunctions. Remember that 80% of all silent crib deaths are male infants. Ask your doctor, though, and he will scathingly dismiss criticisms, reassure you that it's perfectly all right, and make you feel rather stupid for even asking. One of the more intriguing differences between the naturally delivered and nurtured child and the technologically delivered and abandoned child is in the matter of sleeping. Our newborns sleep massively, yet are easily awakened, in which case they cry heavily. The reason is not hard to find. Lack of physical stimulus at birth has resulted in a failure of the reticular formation's completion. Then sensory information cannot be processed properly, and sensory intake creates confusion and anxiety. The nurturings needed were also the means for reducing the high production of adrenal steroids. The combination of unrelieved birth stress and inability to assimilate and cope with sensory intake reinforce each other. They continue the flight-fight effect and adrenal overload, making the wake state intolerable. The Ugandan child sleeps far less, is alert and awake far longer, and sleeps under a wide variety of conditions. His or her mother makes no accommodations for the infant's sleep. She carries him with her at all times and sleeps with him. During the day, he sleeps whenever the need arises, amid the hustle and bustle of his mother's daily life. Motion is the natural state of this infant, and she or he sleeps far better in motion than in stillness. Stillness, in fact, is the most alien of all states to the newborn and early infant. The Ugandan infant never leaves the known, and yet safely ensconced with that matrix in sling or backpack, she or he moves continually into highly stimulating new experiences. New sensory data comes pouring in with the mother right there for continual reinforcement of the basic set of conceptual patterns to which all newness can be referred. This is the ideal learning situation, an automatic stress relaxation cycle giving continual stimulus and security.
Okay, I think we can stop here today
Okay.
because this thing will take some time to back up, and then 4 o'clock we'll meet for meditation. Anything
Okay.
anyone has to say about this, whatever we've read? Any comments?
I think we are all horrified by.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I can't believe our children are halfway normal also.
So,
I
Niket,
think
you
it's
should
now
have
all
read.
over.
Hello.
Yeah,
I'd like to make a point here.
yeah,
My niece has just a 3 months old baby. She has delivered,
yeah.
and the baby is raised absolutely to all these principles.
Beautiful.
Yes, it's my sister's a Montessori school. She runs a Montessori school,
Okay.
and bang on to all these principles. The baby is raised much near the baby. Everything she has made everything, even all those rattles things which we buy.
Yeah.
My niece has made everything for the baby. In fact, she was
Beautiful.
fed,
Wonderful.
and it's just beautiful.
Great.
We've
Ask
got a
her to join
grandson
us
in
in
the
the
family.
Ask her to join
No,
us in the
no. She has got a book. She's got a book, and she reads, books with that baby. She does so many things. It's amazing.
Very nice.
As I'm listening, I
Yeah.
know the baby is following only this
Yeah.
from day one when the child was born. How she has done. It's amazing.
Yeah. I have been professing that, for quite some time now, that any lady who's going to have a baby must read this book.
Yes. And if possible, you read this book, Sorted at 16. My sister has published that book. She has written it
Yeah. Can you
about from birth to 16.
can you WhatsApp it?
Yeah, I will WhatsApp the book to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else? Any
Fully
comment?
No, nice session. We'll meet at 4 then.
Yeah, we'll meet at 4.
Okay.
Anyone else? Anything to say? Shika, how are you?
Thank you. Sorry for losing the connection that time.
Again, don't be sorry, be happy. Okay, then see you all at 4 o'clock.
Right.
See you, Nikitji.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.